Hi, this is Ross Waddell, and welcome to Part 4 of the WonderFest Contest Entry Management System. In this episode, we'll talk about sharing the load, data entry using multiple PCs with the import and export feature. So, one of the big problems you might face during the course of the massive 500 plus model entry records is how can you get more than one person to help out? If only one person can type at one PC, how do you get them to use more than one? And here's one way. That's built into the application itself. First thing you need to do is to pick one PC as the designated master machine that has the client and server installed on it. It's usually the one that you're going to use to generate the ceremony list and the presentation slide decks. Whichever one you want to pick that one. Next thing you do is you export the admin records from the master PC, and I'll go over that when we log into the application. But that's the categories, the medals, and the sponsored awards, if applicable. You copy those onto a USB drive or a CD-ROM or some such. You walk them over, and you import them into the secondary PCs, one or more. Once those are entered, you've got your categories, the medals and the sponsored awards into the secondary PCs. Now you can do your data model entries. So now you've got two people or more sitting at their PCs, typing away, entering the basic information at the beginning of the contest that on the slips that people hand you. Once that's all done, you need to consolidate it into the master PC. So on each of the secondary PCs, you go and you export the model entry record. And that I'll show you again in the demo. You export everything. You put those on a USB drive or a copy to a CD-ROM. You walk over to the master PC and you import them into the master PC. Now it has everything you could possibly need. So let me just demonstrate that for you. I'm going to log in as true. Oh, I mistyped the password. Always click open on the security warning. My son's pounding at the door. Here's the splash screen. And then away we go. You can see that I've already initialized the 2010 contest here because I didn't get the pop-up, and you can see it here in the contest here. So what do I mean by the preparation? First thing you need to do, obviously, you've had to initialize the contest here. Next thing, during that process, you add or delete or modify the categories. That's probably the main administration table you care about is the categories. The other ones aren't so important. So once that's done, you go over here. This is on the master PC, and you go to export. And by default, it's going to select everything. But for the first, from the master PC for step one, you should always select just the single contest here. You don't really need to make a backup, which is what the all is for. Select the contest here, and then you only really need the categories. Unless you've modified the medals and you've already entered the sponsor awards, and you know you're going to be capturing that info on some of the secondary PCs, you don't need to worry about that. And you can't unselect category. It's required. Then you just pick a folder you want to export it to. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, my machine is very small or very slow today. And then very quickly it tells you that the text files were saved. So I'm just going to show what that looks like. And you can see in here, there's some files from the last time I did it, just overwrote into the same folder. You can see this one here with today's date and time. And if you look at it, it just contains a comma delimited file of the categories. So you copy that onto a USB drive or a CD-ROM. You walk over to the secondary PC. I'm going to pretend I'm on the secondary PC. And then you go to import, and you just click file import. You select the folder wherever you copied it to, and it says import 2010 contest year. It knows the year. It will default this selection based on whatever files it finds in that folder. In this case, I'd done all these previously, but on the machine that you're on the secondary machine, all you need to do is select the category details. You need to click import. I'm not going to do that now because that will screw everything up because I'm only on one machine here. So you click import, then you go off, you do your data entry, you click new, you use first name, whatever. Do whatever you want on the secondary PCs. When you're done, then you go and export again from the secondary PCs. In this case, again, you would only select the one contest here. You can do all the records here. It doesn't really matter if you select them or not. If they're empty, it won't really make any difference. In this case, I haven't entered any records, and I haven't selected any sponsored award winners. But let's say I wanted to do these ones. Again, it's going to ask me where do I want to save them. I'm just going to put them into the same location. And there we go. It's exported. You now put that on, copy it onto a CSV drive or a CD-ROM. You walk it back over to the master PC, and then you do the import on the master PC, and then you've got all the records in one spot. That's it. That's how you can do multiple data entry or using multiple machines to do the data entry. Bit time-consuming and laborious process, I know. Where's my slideshow? My slideshow disappeared on me. Here we go. So there is another way. If you are able to do this, and the only reason I didn't set up this as the default is because you're at a hotel which doesn't have a guaranteed network. You're just using the Wi-Fi. If it goes up or down, it could cause problems. But if you are able to do this, this is definitely the simplest way. So I put it here in the presentation just so you know. What you would need to do is on the master PC, you would need to set up the file and print sharing in Windows. You would need to ensure that the server folder where the actual server database file is shared out with read-write access to the people that you want to connect to it. They need read and write because of certain locking files for access. Then on the secondary PC, you just go in and you point it to this file. You just locate it on the network. You look for this wfest_srvr.mdb. You point to that. Now that secondary PC is connected to the exact same server database file as the master, and that's it. They enter a record. Bingo, it shows up in the master right away because it's all sharing the same backend or server database file. So we can talk about this in more detail at the show if this is the route you want to go. It just all depends on how secure the network is, because if the network goes up and down while the secondary PC is connected over the network and is actually making, maybe adding a record, it could corrupt the database, and then that could cause problems, big problems. So we'll look into this in more detail if this is what you want to do. Again, this whole tutorial is optional. It only really applies if you want to do data entry on multiple machines. Hopefully the quick entry screen that I'll show you in the next tutorial will make it really easy to get multiple records in at the same time. So join me for part 5.